Hey everybody, today I'm gonna talk about Sinistar. Produced in 1983 by Williams Electronics, Sinistar is an arcade game with simple rules. You play as a spaceship, killing enemies and shooting asteroids to gain ammunition. A few minutes in, Sinistar appears and starts screeching that he hungers.
Beware, I live.
The player can only kill him by using the missiles they get from the asteroids. If they succeed at that, they win. I first played this game when I was 6, though, and so I didn't have a total grasp on the rules. Specifically, I didn't know about the missile-gathering, Sinistar-destroying mechanics. And that ignorance, that playing the game wrong, had a huge impact on the way I saw the work. Sinistar, for me, could be broken into 3 clean acts. Act 1. Being a spaceship in a calm, lonely space. There are enemies and asteroids around, but nothing is particularly frightening. Every challenge can be managed. Act 2. Sinistar hungers.
I hunger.
Before I can see the monster, I can hear him, in what must be the most frightening introduction of any character in gaming history.
Beware, coward.
There is a presence coming, and he's not here yet, but my days are numbered, and I know that. Act 3. Sinistar emerges. Sweeping across the screen, howling at us, is a large, bright space god. I suspect that my normal bullets must have some impact on him, but when I try to shoot him, I find that it does literally nothing. Sinistar is fast and huge, and disposes of me quickly. This game had a strange effect on me as a kid. Most of the time, I was afraid to play it without my brother around. But I remember sometimes booting up Namco Museum at night when no one was there and deciding, let's do this, let's play Sinistar. This game and The Twilight Zone were the first bits of media that I thought were sometimes better when experienced alone. Most arcade games have no real win condition. When you play Tetris, there's no way to end your game on a positive note. Those blocks are gonna pile up, you're not gonna win. But Sinistar, for me, was different from that. It wasn't just a game I would inevitably lose. It was a game about inevitably losing. About a cosmic horror that I didn't understand and that didn't respond to any of the tools at my disposal. I haven't played many games that have Cthulhu in it, but it's hard for me to imagine there could be a game with a more elegant and faithful depiction of him than the one I got from Sinistar. And it's all because I didn't know if he could die. Let's be clear here. The experience of not knowing an important bit of information about art, and having that profoundly impact your experience, is not unique to Sinistar or to gaming. If you stand too far away from this painting by George Seurat and think that's the only way to look at it, you'd have a very different impression of the work from the one you'd see if you moved closer. If you observed that it's composed of a bunch of small dots and realized that, to some extent, the painting is about the fact that it's made of small dots. If you're a modern person reading Hamlet, you might read the line, "Get thee to a nunnery," and naturally assume that Hamlet thinks Ophelia should go to a convent.
Get thee to a nunnery.
But at the time the play was written, the word nunnery had another meaning, whorehouse. And that is important to what Hamlet says here. Of course it is. He's telling his GF that she's like a prostitute. And many people might come away thinking something very different. I think these examples are important, and they say a lot about the way we interpret or fail to interpret media in general. But that said, there's something special about games when it comes to playing without complete information. To put it simply, that's what games, almost all games, are about. We might be tempted to compare reading a play or looking at a painting to playing something like Pac-Man, but really, these acts couldn't be more different from each other. See, there's a strong sense, when we look at the works of, like, Shakespeare, that we can imagine a perfect reader of his stuff, someone who understands what all the words mean, all the double entendres, someone who gets the symbolism and the history behind the text. That's the person who will give us the best interpretation, right? But with Pac-Man, what is a perfect player? Someone who always knows how the ghosts will move and can get to the kill screen? I don't think so. That person doesn't know my joy in playing the game. The hectic experience of dealing with a bunch of ghosts chasing you, not knowing where to go, losing. And I don't think anyone would say my interpretation of that work is lesser than that of someone who knew everything about it. Pac-Man has extra lives, after all. Not knowing how to play is embedded in the experience, essential to how it works. And this is true of basically every game. Call of Duty, Mario Party 5. In these games, you're not always knowledgeable. You have to make decisions, and those decisions can be wrong. These games are about losing, so there can be no perfect player of them. Just a bunch of people playing, each of them having a time that we have no ability to call incorrect. And now we come back to Sinistar, a game which tells us something interesting and something kinda scary about how we talk about games. Because here, when we look at my experience of that game, we're confronted with just how important this absence of a perfect player is. Because not only was my time with Sinistar meaningful, something that was formative for me in a way that playing with full knowledge of all the rules may not have been, but it was also legitimate. I was presented with a puzzle: get missiles from asteroids, use them on Sinistar. I failed to solve that puzzle and was given one of the outputs of the game, a game over screen. And now, if we want to be critics, some part of us has to account for the meanings created by events like this one. Not just the ideas that can be gotten from playing a game to completion, but also the ones that come from failing to understand the basic rules, and for all the spaces in between. Suddenly, when we want to talk about The Sims 3, we are presented with the possibility that someone might not know how to build a house. For that person, that game is legitimately about crafting a beautiful person, plopping them on some land, interacting with them for a bit, and watching them starve to death. When we want to talk about Civilization 4, we're presented with the possibility that someone may never learn all its mechanics. For that person, the game is legitimately about booting up a world, seeing how complicated it is, and getting overwhelmed by its size and intricacy. I think there's a ghost looming in the background of games criticism. A Sinistar-like being who we can try to ignore, but who really wants to tell us. Talking about games in a comprehensive way, in a way that captures what it means for something to be a game, it's a lot harder than most people give it credit for.
Beware, I live.
So, that's all I had to say about Sinistar. Hope you enjoyed that. I just thought I'd let you know some kind of minor announcements. I'm a little sick, by the way. That's what you might be able to hear that. So I'm getting rid of my one video every 2 week schedule. You can expect still that you'll probably see 2 videos a month, but I like the freedom of being able to do more kinds of videos and shorter ones and longer ones, just an anarchy of videos. So with all that said, like, comment, subscribe, throw me $1 on Patreon. I don't know what to ask at the end of these now. Bye.